Time to do some sketchy shit. Doo-dah, doo-dah. Hope I get away with it. Oh, doo-dah day.
Well, it would help if I added myself in behind the opening credits, but there you go. All right, I'm Dan Hollifield. This is Last Man Standing. No stupid o'clock tonight. Joe Dog is going through another phase of this flu that's been going around. I sound a little bit congested and coffee and sneezy and whatever else. Probably should come up with 5 more and name them as the 7 deadly disease symptoms. But there you go. Most everybody that's regularly here is on their way home from ndcd.com or .con, excuse me. They had a nice convention up there. I think it's Fowler, Indiana. I'm not really sure. I've misplaced my geography here lately. Getting older will do that to you. But most everybody is, as I said, on the way home. So even Chris went up there. And that was quite a drive from down here. Excuse me, I had to turn that heater off. It's already got way too comfortable in here, and I don't want to be nodding off in front of the camera again. News of the day. My wife and I finally figured out which tree she's talking about needs to be cut down. And I took one look at the one she wants cut down, and I looked over at the one that I want cut down, and I'm going, we're going to have to hire somebody to do this. I don't have the confidence to get out there and drop a pine tree that big and not destroy something. the house, the lawnmower, which could be moved to the front yard. That's no problem. But some of my next door neighbors' trees. Hello, Daniel. How are you doing? Good to have you here again. Um, so we're looking into a tree cutting firm or 10 and going to price match. And as long as we get somebody who's insured, not to cause property damage dropping a tree, we'll know what we got to pay and to whom and get the schedule to get it done. Um, really hope they're very, very careful with the pine tree that my wife wants cut down because it's got a rather ancient muscadine vine growing up. So I don't want that cut off. If they could just go up the trunk with a bucket lift or something and get it loose, we can let it flop to one side. And if they're very careful with their chainsaws, they won't cut it off at the ground. And I will be building a grape arbor outside the chain link fence. Have to get it someplace and get it directed and keep it trained. Ah, Mr. Scarborough has decided to show up. That's good.
You do it then. Okay. That's
Hey, it's force of habit. It's my damn show.
yeah, well, there you go. The time has come, the war is said, to talk of many things.
Yes.
Ships and sealing wax of cabbages and kings.
What do you call the company that comes and cuts down a tree for you? Arborists?
Tree service is what they normally call them around here.
Well, we're close enough to where that's what they probably call it around here too. I think arborist is quite fancy and high-priced tree service. I don't know.
I think an arborist trims trees. The tree service actually comes out and takes away the lumber stuff. So.
Well, they're pine, and I've got no use for that for firewood. I don't want to be having to clean up the stovepipes too quickly. And
apparently, arborist is one of the proper terms. The other one that's, like I said, tree service and tree specialist. So.
Well, we've got 2 pine trees that do not look all that healthy anymore, and they are huge. And
about the only thing you can do with pine trees is somebody makes toilet paper. So
they're
sad.
They're perfectly welcome to harvest it for the lumber for all I care.
Hey, I was born in Mississippi. Mississippi is nothing but one big farm for making toilet paper. Okay.
Well, Lindsay and I had a misunderstanding about which tree it was that she wanted cut down.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was the one that looked like with the predominant wind direction around here might hit the house as well as crush the chain link fence.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. We, of course, last year we cut down a bunch of trees, and we haven't had some of the problems some of our neighbors have had. So we're happy that way.
Yeah. Now, if they can drop it back into the woods, I don't care if they break off a few branches on one of the old oak trees, because I can harvest those to cut up in little bitty pieces to use in the cast iron stove, the outdoor kitchen stove, in case anybody thinks that I'm heating with the fireplace like a proper redneck. This house was not built with a real fireplace, so
I've been slowly going through all the stuff I brought back from my dad's apartment, and tonight's mystery box, because I was in a hurry and didn't mark any of the stuff. I found Grandma Tony's old stock pot.
Ooh, valuable.
Yeah, and then the little mini crock pot holds about a quart.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Yeah, I think it's just for like cheese dip or something like that. Kind of like a
Hey,
fondue pot. Yeah. Um, got one of those. You know these jars with the big handle on top, got the little chopper blade inside of it, and you stick like an onion in it and go pop, 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 and chop the
yeah.
onion up inside the. Yeah, one of those. I haven't seen one since the 70s. So it's
Well,
kind of fun.
that's because Popio stopped making them.
Apparently,
It's Omatic.
he found this one somewhere for doing pecans, for
Oh,
making
wow.
pecan pies. Yeah, and then
Well,
what
you
was
still
some?
have to shell them first.
Well, yeah. Let's see. He had. I got two of his old VHS recorders. Um,
If they work.
I don't know. I haven't tried them yet. I cleaned them up, and I haven't tried them. Both of them have a VHS tape still stuck in them. So
Oh,
I've got an.
still stuck. That's not a good sign. You got to take it apart to get
Um,
those.
then I got his emergency weather. You know, he lived down on the Gulf Coast, so
Mhm.
hurricanes. Everything. I got his emergency weather radio, which old fashioned. It's an RCA. That I'll tell you something right there,
Mhm.
and runs on 6 D-size batteries.
Good Lord.
Yeah,
That one's made for switching on. Don't tell me a thing until there's a severe weather alert, and
and
leaving it for a year.
I had his fluorescent lantern was in there too. Let's see what else was in it. Oh, there's an old alarm clock, red LED alarm clock, wood
Oh,
grain. It's okay. One of the, I think it's a West clock if I remember correctly.
oh wow! I used to live next door almost to one of their factories. Little bitty place.
And and some Pyrex. He had some Pyrex dishware. I got a pie pan and a storage thing. And I didn't want most of the stuff he had in his kitchen. I didn't want that. Just didn't want to drag it all home. But Pyrex is Pyrex. So.
Yeah, really. That stuff's like gold.
Well, it's there's two types of Pyrex. You get the really good stuff where the word Pyrex on it is in capital letters.
Mm-hmm.
That's like their laboratory side of the house, stuff like that. But a lot of their old dishware, the original Pyrex, has that logo. And that's the good stuff. And somewhere down the line, they sold out their, what do you call it? They franchised out to another company to start making the kitchen stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And all of that stuff, if you look on the side of the Pyrex dishes, will have lowercase letters spelling Pyrex instead of the capital letters. So that's how you know the difference. The capital letters is the good stuff.
Mm.
And lowercase
Always.
letters is the cheapo Walmart stuff.
Hey, it's still good stuff. It's
Oh
just
yeah.
the old stuff is usually better. Let me run to the beer fridge. I'll be right back.
Bring me one.
I wish I could. My fax machine no longer transfers liquids. I think I shouldn't have tried to fax somebody a slice of pizza.
No. One of these days you're going to get that replicator straightened out from Star Trek. We're going to,
And I'll never have to go to the liquor store again.
See, I had a pretty good day today. I woke up kind of early, got all the dogs took care of, did a little piddling out in the backyard, prepping for planting.
Yeah.
Trying to get back into the mode to fix my fence. And then got a shower, got cleaned up good, went to the store, bought groceries, came back, got everything put away, fixing a door. We got one of those hollow core doors, the little cheapo,
Yeah. I'm not fond of those.
Yeah, me neither. And the veneer's coming off of it, off the frame. So it's like, yeah, it is coming apart. And so I went by Ace Hardware, bought some Moe's 2-inch clamps.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little spring-loaded, clamps. And I've got it up on a table and putting the wood glue on it, spreading the wood glue around and clamping it shut. I did the bottom half about 4 o'clock or so. let it dry for about 2.5 hours, and then flipped it over and did the upper half, so it's still drying in the room there. Get that, and that'll be one less broken thing in the house right now.
Had one door. I don't remember where it was I was living at the time. It was an apartment. I was renting it, and thought it was one of those hollow doors, and took it down to make a tabletop out of it. Turns out it was a solid piece of lumber.
Oops.
Hey, I was going to put it back. I mean, I couldn't have run off with it anyway. But it came with the apartment. It did not belong to me. So yeah, it was no problem rehanging it, although it was a little heavier than I liked. But all I had to do is reattach the hinges to the door and put the hinge pins back in. All this stuff I had carefully saved and put in a sandwich baggie and labeled up what it was for, as if I didn't know. And there's quite a good tabletop for a long time. But yeah, these things, they happen. We went off and took the recycling off and a couple of bags of trash, and then went to grocery store and got a few things. Restocked our supply of plastic bags to recycle in 2 weeks when we go back to the recycle center.
Yeah. They had what was it? Darn it, I can't remember the brand. Corned beef on sale at the whole packet. And I'm trying to remember something Murphy Brothers or something like that. I can't remember. But they had them on sale for like half price. And so I got one of those. Got some rye bread, some Swiss cheese. Of course, I make my own sauerkraut, so I'm thinking about doing some corned beef sandwiches here.
We're going to have pork chops and sauerkraut one day this week. I think Lindsay's going to do a pot roast or what she calls it, a Sunday roast, and use one of those little freezer trays of potatoes and other vegetables, rather than have to lay in a whole bunch of fresh stuff that will go bad before we can use it all. We just have everything ready to go. I don't think she intends to use the crock pot for the pot roast or for the roast. I don't know. We haven't talked about that.
I don't have a roaster pan. It's one of those, I'd like to have one, but I don't have room for it. If I get rid of a few of the half a dozen crock pots I've got at the house, did I say that out loud?
Yeah, well,
my mom will disown me if I tell her I'm throwing away crock pots. Let me tell you.
And you can't just put them on Etsy and try and ship them anywhere because they're so heavy.
No, but yard sales, on the other hand, we've actually gotten rid of one of the yard sale ones.
Oh, what else is going on? Oh, I've got my little weather station set up now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The wind has died down, but the last time it got a reading, it was coming from the south. But I've discovered from this thing that wind direction changes around here about every 15 minutes. Barometric pressure is rising. Yeah, we were supposed to get some rain tonight, but there's just clouds passing overhead. That's all there is. That's okay. I could use the ground to dry out a little bit so that.
You see, Alexa Alexa said something about rain tonight or Sunday.
Well, it was possible from about the time the show started onward down here, and I haven't heard a thing, and the rain gauge has not indicated a single
Um,
drop.
we're going to have
So,
a 44% chance of showers at 5 in the morning, according to the
mm,
Weather Channel. And then
I think
apparently Sunday evening from about 6 p.m. up, we're going to get showers all through Monday.
mm,
Well, we're going to get showers Monday morning, and then
mm.
Monday evening actually looks kind of nice.
Josh posted that starting Friday, we may have another winter storm rolling through.
Well, they got a surplus, and they just keep dumping it on us. Damn Canadians.
Sears was having a sale.
Start charging them tariffs on winter storms.
Imported from Canada, yeah. Then again, he hasn't put any tariffs on Jamaica or Cuba for sending us hurricanes yet.
No, we just dumped a starship on them.
That's not Zach's fault.
That we know of. Yeah.
Point a radar dish at it and it goes boom. Oh. Yeah. Well, and it was a little too windy for me today to get out there and work on finishing up the roof of the barbecue grill area and get the last sheet of plywood cut to size for the last piece of siding I'm going to put on it. I have to do all this by myself, and I didn't want to be out there and have the wind blow a full size sheet of plywood down on my head. So I decided I would wait till I think our next non-rainy day is going to be about Tuesday or so, and it'll be nice, even warmer than it was today. But
today was nice. Yes.
Oh, I loved it when we went out to the recycle center. That was great. That was great. When we were coming out of the grocery store, it was a little bit windy though. So,
Have you seen this post? It's gotten posted within the last hour on back of the cereal box, where he shows Patricia Velasquez and Arnold Vosloo. They were the two actors that played the Egyptians in The Mummy.
yeah.
Actually, I think this was the Mummy Return. But she was the haughty Egyptian queen. Anoxenomoon or whatever her name was, the one with the body paint.
Yeah.
They're showing pictures of then and now. Of course, he aged. He looks like us, only bald. And she actually looks better now than she did back then.
I have noticed that in a few other video thumbnails. Of course, it's the same channel that keeps trying to tell us that Brent Spider died in 2004.
How do we know he didn't?
He's still working.
I just don't mean it's him, you know.
Hey, Hollywood's not going to give us a real zombie a paycheck. That's too easy.
Hey, it could be, AI driven or something like that. Oh no, we had a deadly shooting here locally they posted it 26 minutes ago. 3 people are dead while 1 survivor is undergoing surgery.
Good Lord.
Appears to be a strange husband. Went in and shot everybody. Walker County, Georgia.
Tragic. Absolutely tragic.
Well, it drives me nuts that I don't know what people think they need to go and shoot family members or something like that.
Oh, well, I can't even understand it, much less condone it in any way, shape, or form. But
Speaking of which, crazy stuff that needs to be abolished. Got to set our clocks forward tonight at 2:00. So
yes, I know.
you go from 2 to 3, but look on the bright side, folks. When you set your clocks forward by 1 hour, that's 1 hour less in the Trump presidency.
Trouble is, they set him back again in fall.
He's trying to abolish that, which would be ironic that he actually loses an hour of his presidency because of it.
We were quite a bit startled today. There were fire engines, police cars, and ambulances galore with sirens blaring and everything going up and down the road. Not our road, but the main road to where the grocery store and the recycle center is.
Mm-hmm.
And they have been having emergency response testing for the past week. So they had an active shooter drill near the county liquor store, and
location.
Yep.
Um,
And that was last week, and then this week it was the ambulances and the fire engines' turn, and the recycle center is right next to the firemen's training tower. They practice everything except trying to put it out because it's made out of concrete blocks, and then just light a match, and that's not going to go up really quickly. But they were just sitting up there. We heard them when they pulled in, had the sirens going, and everything just backed into the driveway and sat there. And then as we were leaving, ambulance coming the other way, going towards the fire truck. And as we were leaving, as we were getting to the grocery store, another ambulance going down the road, a couple of police cars going behind it. And I'm going, I hope that's the training and not an actual car wreck. Didn't see any debris on the road. So after we left to go home,
I'm looking at the Reuters.
Hello,
news.
Kiri.
Oh, hey, Kiri. I'm looking at the Reuters news thing. I didn't realize this. China is hitting back at Canada with fresh agriculture tariffs. Apparently, Donald Trump is not the only person putting tariffs on other countries. Apparently, China or Canada was doing it too. And then, was it Canada is suspending imports from the biggest U.S. pork processing plant, which is Smithfield. So how ironic that Canadian bacon was made in the United States. Ouch. Syria overthrew their government, right? And they're trying to get their government.
I did not know that yet.
Oh, well, they ran their president now. Yeah. It's about a couple months. It's been 3 months now.
Oh, okay. I just had forgotten about it.
So they're trying to build a new government, but apparently the militants don't want to disarm. So they're having a big deal right now about trying to negotiate that. Apparently, this crackdown they're doing with the police security forces has already killed over 1,000 people, and you just don't hear that much about it. it says killed more than 340, possibly 1,000.
That's a wide gap.
Well, they're not sure if it was because of the security forces going after the gunmen or if that's just people shooting at people. You know,
Well, it is the Middle East.
well, yeah, that and just because they're security forces doesn't mean they're not doing their regular job of shooting at, bank robbers and drug dealers and stuff like that. So they know of at least 340 people that are directly because they were part of this militant group, and then they're not sure about the other 660.
Oh, has the autopsy reports on Gene Hackman and his wife come out yet?
Yes. Apparently she died first. She had hantavirus, that thing you get from rodents.
Yeah.
And that's what killed her. And then, of course, he had advanced Alzheimer's or Parkinson's. I can't remember which one. He had that, and apparently he just wandered around the apartment until he collapsed. So, apparently, she died 7 days before he did. So he was wandering around the apartment for 7 days, not knowing what to do. So,
probably not eating, not staying hydrated, and
they left that one dog locked up in the cage. And,
yep, that sounds like Alzheimer's to me. That doesn't sound like Parkinson's.
It's I can't believe nobody was checking on those folks.
Well, the person that finally decided to check, wasn't he one of their gardeners?
Somebody that worked at the apartments or whatever, or where they worked in their area, and he went over and knocked on the door about something, looked in the window and saw her lying in the floor, and she had been dead for 10 days or something. So,
well, I thought it was clickbait, and turns out that's correct. Oh, hello, Joe.
Oh.
Good evening, folks. Just got home going to bed. Yeah, well, you've been at a convention all day, and you had a fairly decent drive both ways. So have a good night. We'll see you when we can see you. Yeah, the thumbnail on the thing claimed that they did have a gas leak in the house, and that's what killed them both.
No, the autopsy showed no sign of.
That's what I thought. I had not.
And it probably wasn't a gas leak. It was probably just the apartment smelled really bad after having dead people in it for 10 days. So.
More than likely, but that wouldn't. Smelling really bad in the house wouldn't show up on an autopsy report. The toxicology would have gotten that one. It's tragic. Once again, tragic. I just don't know.
Yeah, he had heart disease and Alzheimer's, so he was in rough shape. And then, see, Alzheimer's. Yeah, it's apparently she had the hantavirus thing going on and just fell down. Apparently, she fell down, hit her head, and passed out, and just never woke up again. So
it happens.
And because his Alzheimer's was so far advanced, it says it's quite possible he was not even aware she was dead.
Just wandered around the house and never found her.
Oh, see, Hackman had no food in his stomach, so he hadn't been eating, but he wasn't dehydrated.
Oh.
Apparently, he could get to the water. So. Once they died, though, their bodies dehydrated because they're living in Santa Fe, New Mexico.
That's a rather arid spot.
Yes. Let's see, what was the other? I'm going through my news feeds, so I'm kind of.
Yeah.
Let's check out Al Jazeera and see what they say.
Well, while you look that up, I'm going to play a commercial here for myself.
Oh, play a commercial.
Yes. Now this book will be available. Well, the ebook is available March 21st, which is not that long away. And after that, I do believe I'll get news on the physical copies and everything else. Amazon has it up for pre-order right now. And I really should have that link where I can post it. Maybe I can get that link while I play the video. It's only a little while. In the early days of the Korean War, an underage boy ran away from his family's farm in West Virginia to join the Army. He quickly transferred to the Air Corps and became a fighter pilot. Somehow, he became useful to several alphabet agencies, so he was recruited to help them during the Cold War. Eventually, he got tired of being a spy and tried to retire. Fate had other ideas. These are some of the early adventures of Captain Tom Darby of the U.S. Army Air Corps. From before that fateful night, he rode his motorcycle around a curve too fast on a back road in rural Georgia and accidentally began a new life entirely. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Oh well. There you go, folks. There's the link to the pre-order page. That may change when it actually goes live, and it will show up on my author page. So I hope y'all like it. And I'm going to bring John back in. No, John's going to bring.
Beat you to it. I was waiting for you to get done talking. So.
Well, for as long as Joe Dog's been sick, I've been doing like an hour-long monologue and then signing off without other people hanging around. It seems kind of pointless for me to sit here and just pontificate on things. But
I wonder, I'll need to look that up. The root word of pontificate.
Pontiff? No, that wouldn't be the root word. Hell, we're going all the way back to Latin on that.
Yeah, well, the thing is, do you know where the term pontiff comes from?
The Pope.
No, where he gets it from.
Oh,
I'll give you a hint. Pontoon bridge.
Oh, that's really going back Roman engineering.
Okay, and that's where it, the bridge that went across the river to get into Rome, the one from the famous, it's the Lay of Herodotus, I think it was, or Horatius, or the captain of the guard that guarded the bridge going into Rome.
Yeah.
He back then, the bridge, the people that were in charge of this bridge were priests. And the reason was they put the bridge across the river, and they had this thing for religious reasons. They wouldn't make bridges out of stone. because they didn't. They thought it was a bad omen to make a bridge out of stone over a river because it would sink. Stones in river, Right? So they made all their bridges out of wood, which was why they were able to destroy the bridge when the army came to retake Rome. And that's what they. But the guy who was in charge, the priest that was in charge of the gatehouse on the bridge, was the guy that kept the key to the bridge. When the Pope in Rome was formed, but Christianity took over the Roman world, and the Pope in Rome was formed, he adopted, how Christianity basically absorbed all these other religions?
Mm-hmm.
They absorbed that religion, which is why you see the crossed keys being a symbol for the Pope, and why they call him a pontiff, is because he was the head of Rome, or he was the head priest in Rome, was the pontiff. And the reason was he had the keys that let all the other priests in and out of Rome, whether if he didn't like your religion, they'd kick you out of Rome, lock you out. Learn something new every day.
Yeah, really. I wonder if Facebook fixed their policy about linking to Facebook pages during a live stream, because I usually had every link that goes to a Facebook page refused when StreamYard started, but it seems to be working today. I don't know. Maybe they got too many complaints or too many people going over to Blue Sky, so they had to reverse some of their policies.
Yeah, there's a lot of backpedaling in that company these days.
Mm-hmm.
It was the only bridge crossing the Tiber at Rome, and it was called the Sublician Bridge. And his name was Horatius, or Horatius. Not sure how you pronounce that.
Yeah, Horatius sounds right. I do know that Herodotus was the one that wrote the histories.
Yeah.
Even though beginning to look to modern historians that he was indulging in a little fan fiction in certain places.
Ooh, just a bit.
Oh, wind shifted again. This thing is fascinating. It's got so much information, and I need to adjust some of the readouts because they don't match anything on the other just normal weather station things that I've got. When I build a new well house, I got one really simplistic one up here on the wall. I'm gonna dig a small trench out to the front porch and run PVC pipe with electric wiring in it, and have a heater out there. And when this thing on the wall says it's getting too cold inside the well house, plug the heater up.
You know how like the Air Force got all these stealth airplanes, right?
Yeah.
They're actually looking at right now, and this is brilliant. Why they haven't done this a long time ago, I don't know. They're actually looking at making a stealth refueling tanker.
Oh.
Which makes perfect sense, It's
yeah.
But the one they're showing in the picture here looks awful small. It's not much bigger. It looks smaller than the B-2 bomber, just with a longer fuselage. And, well, I suppose I can throw it up if you want to see it.
Sure.
I'm really surprised, though, that they haven't come up with something based on the B-2 bomber that would, do that. But I think it's supposed to be an F-35. That's either the F-35 or the NGADs, which is going to be, no, it's not NGAD. It's got to be F-35. But that's what they're talking about is the whole article is about whether the F-22 and the F-35 are already somewhat outdated because they're already working on the 6th gen fighter past it.
Yeah.
And they call it NGAD, which is Next Generation Air Superiority, or Next Generation Air Dominance is the NGAD. And then the other one was the NGAS, was the Stealth Tanker Program, which, no offense, but if you're going to put all that money into a stealth tanker, make a big one.
Make it as big as you possibly can.
Well, make it big enough to stay up there for a month.
Yeah. That would be something. An airborne tanker that can refuel itself.
Well, it's got 30,000 gallons on board. Why not just
run a hose to its own tanks and put a valve on it? Okay, Tony, we're running low. Give us another 55 gallons.
The other thing they're doing right now, it's the one thing they're working on right now, is this thing called the Loyal Wingman. I don't know if you've heard about these.
That's a unmanned, isn't it?
It's a drone, but it follows the fighter, and the fighter can. There's several versions. They've got one that can go out and shoot weapons. So the fighter can basically sit back and be the commander and send the drone in, so that if you get shot down, you didn't lose his pilot. And then supposedly one plane can actually have like 6 of these things following along with it, and they'll rotate them through. So that as the first one comes in, starts getting low on fuel, they'll send it home and have another one already coming in to replace it. So just keep rotating through.
That sounds like a good idea.
Well, the other thing they're going to do is Navy's been working on this for a while, is refueling drones.
Yeah, I've heard of that now. Where
the fighter goes out, it's on station or whatever, and they send the drone out to do the refueling mission. It's got all the fuel. And Air Force, of course, is probably working on something like that too. They're probably waiting on the Navy to get theirs straightened out before they try and do one. So, hey, well, why waste R&D money on 2 different programs?
Yeah, really.
And then, of course, I'm curious to see this. I heard a lot of talk about it 10 years ago, and then all of a sudden all the talk disappeared.
Oh.
Which when the military is doing weapons research, that means one of 2 things. One, it ain't working, so they're getting ready to cancel the whole thing. B, it's working so well they don't want anybody to know about it. And there were 4 or 5 programs basically all doing the same thing. Converting a warhead for the 2.75-inch rockets, which all the helicopters in the U.S. all the NATO helicopter, everybody are using these 2.75-inch rockets. We've been using the same size rocket since Vietnam. They're talking about making seeker warheads for the front of them. Instead of it just being a dumb rocket goes out and explodes on target, actually having the ability to guide them into targets. And again, everybody had their own program. The Air Force had one for their helicopter. Army had one for their helicopter. Marine had theirs. The Israelis had theirs. Navy was working on one that had nothing to do with the Marine Corps. Go figure. But they all wanted something different. Some of them wanted TV guided. Some of them wanted thermal guided. Track a heat, hot target.
Yeah.
Radar guided. Army wanted laser guided because their Apache gunship uses lasers to guide the Hellfire missiles. And I don't know what the Israelis were doing, but anyway, everybody had their own program in it. And the one thing that I heard that was really going, and it was a big thing back in the day, but I haven't heard anything about it since then, was using them for shooting down drones.
Mm-hmm.
They're cheap because it's the rocket stock is already out there. Just got to put this add-on guidance package to the front of it. And they're fast enough and could be accurate enough. I don't know anything about the accuracy of the guidance, but they're fast enough they can intercept a drone really quick. And if they ever get that thing ironed out, you could have them ground launched for shooting at incoming drones. Just put them on all sorts of fun stuff. There's so many platforms you could mount it on. It's not even funny.
Oh, you could send out a whole cloud of them at one time. Because basically sending clouds of drones at you that are supposed to blow up when they get close, it's become such a popular idea.
The old Vietnam era rocket pod that the Army's helicopters used for forever had 7 rockets. I think it was 7. Yeah, 7. Had 7 rockets in the pod. When the Apache gunship came out, they came out with these 2 larger pods that each one had 16 rockets per pod. It's a heavy son of a bitch, but
it's got the horsepower to lift it, obviously.
Actually, they typically don't carry both pods anymore.
Oh.
They'll have 2 big fuel pods, a rack of Hellfire missiles, and a rocket pod, and plus the gun in the nose. That way they can stay on. That's the one problem with the Apache is it doesn't have a lot of hang time.
Hmm.
It can carry a lot of guns, just can't carry them very far.
Or all day.
Or all day, yeah.
Unlike the guy that gets assigned the damn Browning or the Barrett, and he's got to carry it all day on the ground.
Oh, I was in a mortar platoon when I first joined the infantry. 150 pounds of mortar gear plus 10 pounds of round.
That's why you guys shot that stuff off first to lighten the load.
In a light unit, in a company, everybody in the company is supposed to carry 1 mortar round when you go anywhere. And when you get to where you're going to be setting up your area of operation, they all drop off their mortar rounds where the mortar platoons. They all walk through the mortar platoons area and drop off their rounds. But
that's a good idea.
Yeah. Got 150 guys in company, you just got 150 rounds. So. For those of you who don't do math very well, that's like 3/4 of a ton of ammunition. But they are fun to shoot.
Swish, boom, swish, boom, swish, boom.
No.
Yes, I do remember the Gomer Pyle episode where he got fined for losing a mortar round, and then remembered one of his swish booms was missing and went and kicked the mortar tube, and it shot through the roof of the storage room.
And the funny thing is, if you always see it in the movies, the mortar's like bloop. No, it's a cannon. That thing fires. It's bloop. I just saw a picture the other day. They were shooting a 120 millimeter mortar, and they were in I'm not sure if they were in a gravel parking lot or gravel firing area. but the base plate was sitting in gravel. And the first thing I saw when he hung that round, first I said, "Oh, this is gonna hurt." It's because when that base plate kicks in, it wasn't seated all the way yet. I was looking at it and it was still sticking up out of the gravel slightly. So when it fired and that base plate sank in, gravel went everywhere. Looked like a hand grenade went off. Oh.
Oh, imagine one of those, and you're crouched behind it, and it slides across the ground and hits a sensitive area. You just became the backstop.
Yeah, that's
got to suck.
Yeah, I've had to prepare mortar positions in soft ground before, where you have to take sandbags in, and you sandbag it in to keep the base plate from basically drilling into the earth, because it'll. I've seen it's a 3.5 foot long mortar tube, and there was only 1.5 feet of it still sticking up out of the ground. And the guy's laying on his stomach trying to shoot the damn thing, bipod legs. Instead of sitting the legs on the front, they're holding it up. Instead of being like this, they're out like this. And they're still shooting.
Hey, sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
We had this thing at Fort Knox when I was stationed there. There were no small mortars at Fort Knox, an armored unit. All their mortars were the old 4.2-inch mortar, 4 deuce. And interestingly enough, the mortar drill where you take your every year you have to take a test on doing the mortar drill, just like rifle going out and doing your rifle marksmanship. The only problem is the book for this is written for the 81 millimeter mortar. So we're getting ready to do that, and we were going through and we were looking at it, and we went and checked around for all the units. Nobody on Fort Knox had an 81 or a 60. Everything was 4 deuce. So and we called up the training command, TRADOC, and we called them up and said, "Hey, how do we do this? We don't have an 81 millimeter mortar." Well, just do it with the 4. And whoever we called was like clueless on how the two different mortars work, because it's literally like it's like the difference between driving a Ford Ranger pickup truck and a Kenworth.
Yeah, yes. Got to cut the numbers down a little bit.
No, it just, I don't know. So we had to play with it. But since we couldn't do our regular mortar evaluation, we did an abbreviated one. Of course, it couldn't really count. But the fun part was they have a subcaliber training device for the 4 deuce. Technically, it'll work on any mortar. But the one we had was set up for the 4 deuce. And it's CO2 powered. And you put this device up in the front of the mortar, and it got these cute little mortar shells that you use for it. And it's got a little lever up near the front. So you drop it down the tube in the front of it. And as you drop it in, once it hits the bottom, you pop that little lever. You're supposed to pop it when you move your hands away, but it doesn't drop fast enough to do that way. So once that thing, you boom, and it shoots the cute little mortar shell down there. And it'll only go about 100 yards, or about 150 feet. 50 yards, something like that. But it's fairly accurate for that short range. And our target was a number 10 can, steel can for we got it at the mess hall, and put some sand in the bottom. It had about this much sand in the bottom of it. And we were trying to drop them in that. And we got good at dropping them in that. But it had this other neat feature that we didn't get to use because it didn't have the blanks for it. You can unscrew the tip and put a 22 long rifle blank in the end of it. And when it hits, it'll pop. And there's a special blank you can order for it, but we couldn't get them, that makes smoke. It's like a smoke blank. That's all. And all it does is when it hits, you get that little puff of smoke. We couldn't get them in time to do any of our testing or anything. So we just dropped them into the tin can for fun. But we did think about going to. We were going to go to Walmart and get some 22 long rifle shells. See how well that work. We're not supposed to do that. We're not supposed to talk about that because there was nothing to keep that bullet from coming out the end of it.
You know what you could have done? There's these little targets you could get that if it gets hit by something fast enough, it blows up and puffs smoke.
Tannerite targets.
I don't have the faintest idea. I used to have some, and it drove me nuts because I would practice with something, and it would either be too slow,
Excuse me.
or I'd just hit the edge of it, and it would just puff out smoke. And then one day, I managed to get a dead-on bullseye with a fast enough round where it just went off. And Daddy told me, "Don't ever buy that again." Now I'm going to have to cut that tree down.
They had another thing called the 14.5, and it was an artillery simulator.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd open it up, put the shell on the back. It was up on a big tripod, like the tripod they use for surveyors' equipment. What was really interesting about it was it fired exploding shells.
Ooh.
They were only about this big around, about the length of the shotgun shell, but it had a bullet sticking out the end of it, and the bullet was plastic. But when it hit, it would hit and leave a little explosion where it hit. There would be cloud of smoke. And Fort Knox had a sub-caliber, a small-scale village, and they had a sub-caliber map that you could call for fire inside this little town. And the people on the other end with the sub-caliber artillery piece were shooting rounds in to hit your targets. And the tankers were supposed to be calling this in over the radio, calling for fire. It was fun, but it never worked quite right because the tankers couldn't see it worth a damn. They had to do it. They had to do it buttoned up through a periscope.
Oh. Well,
And then it was sub-caliber. Everything was like 1/10 scale. So it's like the cannon was supposed to represent a 155 cannon, but it was a 14.5 millimeter instead of a 155 millimeter.
Mm.
And then they were the hard part was you're supposed to be using your binoculars with the mils scale in it, and then you're basically converting the mils, right, to allow for the sub-caliber, the subscale, the smaller scale.
Yeah.
But it's hard to do. It's not. It's fun, but it's not terribly realistic because you wouldn't convert real world measurements like that.
Yeah.
It was a lot of math. It wasn't so much.
Sounds like it.
It wasn't so much driving a tank as having to do math. So,
yeah, I wouldn't like that myself.
you get used to it after. I mean, give an example.
No, I wouldn't get used to it. I'd design a spreadsheet to do it for me.
Well, the thing was, there's certain types of math you do in the military that you don't do anywhere else in the world.
Ballistics.
But once you get used to it, that's just the way you start thinking. Give an example. A compass, standard compass, 360 degrees. Artillery folks don't use that. Anybody with a big gun doesn't use degrees. They use mils. There are 360 degrees in a circle. There are 6,400 mils in a circle. It's 20 times more accurate than degrees.
Yeah.
And that's what artillery uses. And the tanks have a mils scale built into them. They don't turn the turret in degrees, they turn it in mils. And of course they're shooting rounds at they're engaging hostile vehicles at 2 kilometers, maybe 4 if they're good. And you got the Bradley has the tow missile launcher. That thing's good for 5 kilometers.
Yeah, you want to make sure that that is fine-tuned when you set it off.
You kind of want it pointed in the right direction. Let's just put it that way. That's,
Oh, yeah.
let me see if I can find a graphic for that. That ain't working the way I wanted it to. Darn it. I hate it when the assistant, when you're typing something into the, oh, mils is 1,000th of an inch.
My daddy could tell the difference between something that was 2 mils and 3 mils thick just by eyeballing it. He impressed a whole lot of people he worked with, not only in Oak Ridge, but down here, working on aircraft parts for the military. He got really pissed off one day. His boss bought a whole bunch of titanium, I do believe it was, or steel. I can't remember which. And it was at a bargain. And then after the parts had been milled out by Daddy, it got x-rayed. Then they found out it was so full of cracks it would have fallen apart on the first use. And Daddy's going, you wasted all that money and my time giving me inferior material to work with. Now I've got to do it all over again, and you've got to spend more money to replace what you just threw away on a bunch of scrap. Oh, he was hot that day. But he was so good, nobody would try and dress him down for it or call him out on it. The boss just did not do the inspection of the raw metal, did not have it x-rayed. So he bought stuff off of eBay, basically, and it turned out to be crap. Still not a drop of rain. It was a total false alarm. But it was too windy today for me to do any outside construction work, so it's all right. We're supposed to get rain tomorrow, and then Monday or Tuesday it's supposed to be back up in the 70s. And as far as I know, very little wind whatsoever. We shall see. Weather has a way of making up its own mind what it wants to do. What you got?
Oh, it's talking about apparently somewhere back in the day, they used to use something called a milliradian, which is 1,000 of a radius. And one radian is approximately 57.3 degrees.
That does sound a little. I started to say it sounded less accurate, but you're talking about 1,000th of that.
Yes. But then, of course, NATO eventually went. Everyone was using that at the time, but then NATO went to mils, which is what I'm trying to find here. Is 1/6400th of a circle, or approximately 0.05625 degrees.
Yeah, I can see how that would be more accurate. Especially when you're being attacked by somebody. You want to make sure your reply is in the exact direction they are.
Well, one of the interesting thing about mills and why it's called milliradius and millirad and all sorts of stuff is at 1,000 meters, at 1 kilometer, 1 mil is 1 meter.
Ah, now that's an interesting bit of information.
It is. At 2,000 meters, 2 kilometers, 1 mil is 2 meters. And it continues out basically. It's close. It's not exact, but it's close. But it's great. If you're doing observations and you got binoculars with the mil scale in it, if you know the range to your target, or if you know the width of your target in meters, something like that. Like if a tank is 8 meters long, at 1,000 meters, it's going to be 8 mils long. If you're looking at it at 3 kilometers, it's going to be a third of that. So instead of being 8 meters long or 8 mils long, it's going to be a little under 3, which gives you a good range estimation. If your 8 meter tank is only 3 mils long, it's about 2,700 meters, something like that. So gives you a good range. Gives you a good range estimation to start throwing artillery shells at them.
Which is important when you're expending expensive things like artillery shells. And you're doing backup for friendlies in the area too. You don't want to drop a shell on them.
Well,
you want to hit the enemy tank.
They had this one. I know they've still got them in the inventory. We've been giving them to Ukraine lately. And it's the Copperheads artillery rounds, which are guided artillery rounds. They got a seeker in the nose. And you fire it in the general area, and it will fly into the target. And the original Copperhead was designed to look for lasers. So you went out with the laser spotter, painted your target with the laser, and the Copperhead, and then call in the Copperhead, and then they drop the round into it. They were never terribly reliable. They always fired 2 at a time. So you'd have 2 guns firing at the same target because 50-50 chance one of them would actually hit. I think they went with a thermal version of it, so you don't have to laser the target anymore.
Yeah.
You just fire it in a general grid square, and it looks for a tank.
Well, engines get hot and tanks get hot, don't they?
Yes, they do. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of difference between a hot American tank and a hot Russian tank.
I can well believe.
Which is why, well, it's like that thing. The Russians were training dogs. They would put these explosive mines on their back, a little trigger device on top of it. They trained the dogs to run underneath a tank and with the explosive pack on their back. And they would train them. The problem was they were training them with Russian tanks. So when they let the dogs loose in a combat area, they wouldn't go for the German tanks.
Yes, I imagine that program was curtailed quickly. And a German tank would be a difficult thing to acquire during that time period.
Actually, no. Everybody had everybody. There were actually German units that were using Russian tanks. But they had to quit doing that because the Luftwaffe, when they bombed Russian tanks, they were looking at the silhouette. They weren't looking at the markings on them. So even if the Germans were in a Russian tank and had it marked with German markings, had a big Nazi flag or swastika on the back of it, the Luftwaffe pilots couldn't tell. So, because they're just looking at the shape. So they had to quit doing that too. I'm trying to remember. Battle of Kursk in World War II was the largest tank battle in history, still is. And if I remember correctly, the Germans, out of all the thousands of tanks they sent into battle, about 100 of them were Russian T-34s that they had captured.
Hey. It was a bargain. They were on sale.
Buy one, get one free.
Free delivery.
I've often wondered about that. You know, there's got to be some stories in there. How they wound up a bunch of Russian tanks.
Hey, Lindsay's dad wound up having 2 tanks blown out from under him. And one of them, he walked out of the flaming tank, his uniform on fire, and he was in the one British tanker unit that used almost exactly the same color pattern as the Nazis did in their tanker units. And he got captured by a squad of Americans, and it wasn't until they heard him talk with his British accent that they realized maybe they shouldn't shoot this guy. Oh, we got to publish his memoirs sooner or later. I don't think Lindsay will let me because there's an awful lot of family information in there, but he always started out his war stories with I love the Yanks. They didn't shoot me. Had to spend some time in a hospital in France and have a little bit of reconstructive surgery because of the fire. Had another story where they were getting bombed by German planes, and he was asleep on the outside of the tank. And he goes, "Well, we did seriously think about waking you up." And guys in the unit in the tank were going, "We decided that if we got hit and blown up, you'd rather not be awake to experience that."
Wow. One of my news feeds popped up. France has uncovered the world's largest hydrogen deposit, worth a staggering $92 trillion.
Ooh. Well, I bet it won't bring Zeppelins back.
White hydrogen. I've never heard that term before.
Me neither.
Let's see. They've got gray hydrogen, which apparently is what everybody else has. Gray hydrogen has carbon emissions. White hydrogen does not. And they've got green hydrogen. What the hell that is?
Oh, it's environmentally safe hydrogen.
No, apparently that's the nasty one.
Well,
see, the article does not say what green hydrogen does. It just says that it's one of the I like this. This white hydrogen is different from its well-known green and gray counterparts. Now, I have never heard of any of the three. So apparently, it's not that damn well known. It exists naturally beneath the Earth's surface, waiting to be tapped. Let me see. Apparently, green hydrogen is produced. Let's see here. Gray hydrogen is produced from fossil fuels. Let's see. They don't say where the green comes from. It just says the complexity of producing green hydrogen.
Well, one variety has to come from electrolyzing water.
Okay, yeah, no energy intensive electrolysis. Okay, yeah, apparently green hydrogen is the one they get from electrifying water or whatever.
Okay.
So.
Shocking.
The gray comes from fossil fuels, and this white stuff apparently occurs naturally. Which makes me wonder how the heck you get it out of the ground, because if I remember correctly, hydrogen is somewhat flammable.
Somewhat.
Considering how many wars have been fought in France, it do make one wonder.
Well,
today in the news, France burst into flames because someone was smoking.
Oh God, like that's going to be a rarity in France. Now, isn't the world's largest supply of helium from wells in Texas?
I believe so. Can't remember if it's Texas, but I know it's some. Now I got to look it up.
And that's why the Germans were forced to use hydrogen for their lighter than air craft, because we cut them off from the helium supply. Of course, that means since hydrogen is 3 times as efficient in lifting as helium, they would have to have built the Hindenburg 3 times as big just to be able to have the same lift performance out of it. But it wouldn't have caught fire. Yeah, they could have gotten away with
Dexter, Kansas.
Kansas. Okay. I don't know why I thought it was in Texas. Oh well.
They were drilling for oil in Dexter, Kansas. And I love this guy's name. The Kansas State geologist Erasmus Haworth collected samples of the escaping gas and took them back to the University of Kansas at Lawrence. Him and Hamilton County Caddy and David McFarland discovered the gas consisted by volume of 72% nitrogen, 15% methane, and 1% hydrogen, and 12% of an unidentifiable gas. So they're kind of the guys that discovered helium. Helium was concentrated in large quantities under the American Great Plains and was available for extraction as a natural byproduct of natural gas.
They probably could have figured out it was helium if somebody had just walked in there without a gas mask and came out talking like a chipmunk.
Here you go. The government of the United States set up the National Helium Reserve at Amarillo, Texas, with the goal of supplying military airships at the time.
Yeah.
Then they had the Helium Act of 1925, which banned the export of helium.
Yeah.
Ah, there were some gas fields near Amarillo, Texas, but apparently they've been partially depleted. So they've been piping it out of Kansas. Oh, okay. You're talking about how the differences between helium and hydrogen.
Yeah.
Between 1930 and 45, the helium that was produced in that time was only about 98.3% pure, about 2% nitrogen, which was adequate for airships. But then somewhere down the line, they came up with a way to make 99.9% pure helium used in welding gases. And then they've got commercial quantities of grade A, 99.95% pure helium. Makes you wonder how they make liquid helium.
You got to chill that a whole lot.
See, the other place they're getting helium is out of Ras Laffan, Qatar, and Skeekta, Algeria.
Surprised somebody hasn't tried to take those over, but airships are not in fashion anymore, so. As long as we got enough for the Goodyear blimps, it's all right.
See, helium-1, helium-2, solid phases.
I wonder if helium-1 and helium-2 aren't talking about isotopes.
No. It's the two different types of.
Okay.
See, helium-1 below its boiling point, something like that, and then helium-2 is superfluid helium-4 or something like that.
Yeah,
that's the one's colder than the other. Then they got. They think there are different types of helium in the universe, and we just haven't found them yet.
Well, going back to the isotopes, which means how many extra
right, that's what they're
protons
talking
and
about.
electrons are in it. They think that the moon might have a fairly decent supply of helium-3, which is supposed to be some amazing stuff that would work with fusion reactors.
Yep. And helium-3 propulsion. Hey.
Yeah.
They got a rocket motor.
Yeah.
It's theoretical design for a rocket driven by fusion propulsion that could provide efficient and sustained acceleration in space without the need to carry a large fuel supply. It's nuclear.
Yeah.
Yeah. The simplest way of building a fusion rocket is to use hydrogen bombs.
Orion.
That sounds real damn simple.
The original Orion project,
I'm familiar. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just love the way. The simplest way is to use hydrogen bombs. Yeah. Let's just run down to Ace Hardware and buy a few. Excuse me. Where are the hydrogen bombs for propulsion? I'll 8.
Ace Hardware.
Let me see if I can order them. I can have them in on Tuesday.
I bet the shipping's not much since it's so light. The trouble is, you got to put enough stuff in the truck to keep it touching the ground.
I told you about my story where I went. I was making a recipe, and it called for fresh herbs. So I went to the store produce section. Herbs were ridiculously expensive for the amount for what I was going to buy for this meal. I was like, oh God. So I'm sitting here looking at all these herbs. I'm trying to think if I really want to make this recipe with all this stuff or not. Right next to the produce section at the store was the balloon bouquet, where they keep the flowers and stuff like that. They had the balloon bouquet thing with the helium tank. And I went, So I got a little plastic bag, put my herbs in it. When no one's looking, went over there and pumped it up full of helium. Got about a 40% discount on my herbs. Everybody wanted to know how I got the herbs so cheap. And I went, well, let me tell you.
Not recommended behavior, John. Especially if you're going to tell somebody about it while you're being recorded. Oh, dear.
I have no knowledge of these events. Okay.
You're going to hurt your vocal cords if you keep doing that.
Yeah. We're old. Everything hurts. I'll be back in a moment. I'm going to get another beer.
Okay. Oh. Well, folks, we got about another 30 minutes left. While John's in the restroom, let me play another commercial here. Let's see. Give him enough time. I'll throw the abducted effort in there. Well, I predicted correctly. You needed about 2 minutes, so I played the long advert.
I gotta go put that. I gotta go put that door back on the bedroom.
Anybody watching? As I have noted in the credits of the ads in the show, all the music we use here is copyrighted by me. I composed it. Me and my computer created it. You cannot claim copyright on any audio or music used in the show because I own it.
Oh, you can claim it. You just can't win in court.
You can't even win on YouTube. All I have to do is when somebody makes a copyright claim on something I wrote, is go, sorry, I have that copyrighted. You don't own the copyright. I do. I created it.
I was watching. I want to say it was Ray Donovan, the TV series it was on. Um, Elliot Gould plays a character on there, the old Jewish guy, and he somewhere back in the '50s he bought a piece of music. It was never terribly popular or anything like that, but the guy that wrote this piece of music basically copied bits and pieces from every song that had been made up to that point. Just every little, just some little goofy little tune, and it was all over the place. But the Elliot Gould character bought this, and the only reason he bought it was every time somebody would write a song that had a little bit of that song in it, which, like I said, it was all over the place. So he would sue them. And he would sue them and the record company and wound up settling out of court, made millions of dollars over the 50 years that he had owned this song. And he was pointing it out to Ray Donovan. He was like, he said, you see that sheet music, that gold record? It says on the wall. And he explained the whole thing to him about how he bought it and he sued everybody that made songs that sounded like it. Says, and I've made a fortune off of that. And that's how I got rich, and that's how I got to be where I am today.
Cheating.
Like, nope, just copywriting what everybody else is going to be using in the future. So,
there was somebody in the 60s.
Thomas Edison,
Yeah, well,
it ain't like Thomas Edison invented the light bulb. He just copyrighted it. So I have electric blue cat ears.
I think they make an ointment for that.
That is hilarious how that works. That is actually the one with the blue lights on it is the Tennessee Aquarium. That's freshwater aquarium. The one immediately to that side there, that's the saltwater aquarium in downtown. No, both these are in downtown Chattanooga, right on the riverfront too. So, yeah. Trying to figure out where this picture was. It looks that should be the. Move my chair out of the way for a second. That should be, yeah, there's the river. Okay. Yeah, I'm about to say they're right on the riverfront.
Yeah.
And that lit up area right there in the river, that's the dock area for river boats and stuff. We used to have 3, now we have 1.
Oh, I had a thought the other day that it would probably work in a story, but I doubt if it'd work in real life. All those canal boat videos that I watch.
Yeah.
People are always having to stop the boat and open up the access through to the propeller and clean crap off of their propellers. And I was wondering, if you had an airboat with paddle wheels on each side, would it get clogged up with weeds too? Or would it be a better system?
No, they do get clogged up with weeds, especially in rivers. There's just so much junk, especially in shallow parts of rivers. There's just so much junk.
Well, I mean, the canals are only at the most 5 or 6 feet deep. But the boats themselves only draw about 2.5 feet of water. Well, it was a thought. I mean, seriously.
The problem with paddle wheel boats is if you got the side wheelers, they tend to be wide, of course. And if you get the rear wheelers, you can't back them up that well because they bump into stuff. Yeah, bad for the paddle. But there's this one, I love the idea behind it. There's a gunboat that the U.S. military designed during the Civil War where the paddle wheel was in the center. there was a well in the very center of the boat, right in front of the boiler, or behind the boiler. I can't remember which. Right behind the boiler. And the paddle wheel was actually inside this well in the center line of the boat. And then it had a rudder right behind it. And it was specifically designed for shallow water and to keep the paddle wheel from being shot up with cannons and stuff.
I had never heard of that before. That's fascinating.
There's one of them in Vicksburg, Mississippi, right there on the river. They've got the USS Cairo, the remains of it. It ran into a torpedo and sank. And they've got it there, and they've actually got a pretty good. They salvaged most of the metal stuff off of it and have redone the timber parts of it.
Yeah.
So, matter of fact, while I'm let's see here, USS Cairo gunboat. Let me see here, images. Let me see if I can find a good picture of it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, yeah, wait. Well,
I'm still here.
okay. I was trying to figure out how I can do this and get both pictures up, but I don't think I can.
You'd have to go over to the sidebar on the left and create a bunch of stuff that would give Joe Dog fits. All right, let me go to full screen so that we can make sure the audience can see.
That's looking right down the bow, and you can see where they've replaced, like the smokestacks are just that's timber they put up there just to show you where the bits and pieces were. If I can, it's not going to let me do what I wanted to do. Darn it.
That isn't that always the case.
No, because sometimes I actually figure out how this crap works. All right, that's the picture I was looking at there. That's what it looked like back in the day. And
okay.
And you can see the well where the paddle was, right behind the boilers.
And the slanted sides to make cannonballs bounce off.
And the sides, and here's what's funny. The sides are made out of railroad rails.
Yeah.
That is, let's see here. That's them recovering it from the Mississippi River. And then, let's see, that's the picture I wanted. Oh, darn it. That was the picture I wanted. There we go. View image. Oh, bit too much image. Let's try. Okay, and you can see how the paddle wheel's inside the hull.
I can just see the little bitty one with a lot of text off on the right hand side. Oh. Sorry, I just had a design thought.
Well, that was the idea, actually. They actually show the ballast. I like that. You usually don't see that on stuff like
that. Learn the darndest things on these shows.
Yeah, sometimes we come up with something sharp. Let me see here. It actually did have some. I'm not sure. I guess that's plate armor.
Well, from what I see from here, it was laid out vertically rather than horizontally. So
now here, let me see if I can find it. I'm going to bring this picture. Darn it. See if I can get it to do what I want it to do. You can see the rail armor over here, the railroad rail armor.
Yeah.
And then they actually use railroad hardware to hold it in place too.
Mm-hmm.
That's plates on the front. I guess they did both plates and railroad rail armor. Let me see if I can get that one to pop up good. Won't let me have the picture. Darn it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you can see it really well. The railroad rail armor, where they got the rails upside down.
Yeah. With a wide part on the outside.
Yes. I've forgotten how good. I've seen it years back, but my brother was telling me the other day, every time he drives through there, he has to stop and look at it. Well,
Ooh.
what?
That, go back about 3. That one there. That gives a good illustration of how it was put on. Yeah. And the idea of the slanted sides was to get cannonballs to bounce off instead of pierce through.
Wait a minute, it still ain't giving me what I want. Oh, here we go. Odd. I just think I remember that thing having more railroad rails on it. Oh well. Oh, where are we at?
We
Oh,
right
there we
here. I just had it on full screen because with this new scenes feature.
Oh yeah, I remember. I wish they'd get that ironed out.
Well, they want us to go away from using share screen and use their new fancy gadget, which would be incredibly difficult because you got to set that up before you start the show. As far as I know, you can't just do it on the fly. Well, you might be able to do it on the fly, but then you've got this stuff that you used in one show that's a one-off that you've got to delete that. Otherwise, you use too much memory on StreamYard and they scold you.
Oh.
Hey, I'm just guessing. I don't know. I have no reason to use it unless I found a way to incorporate recordings of me outside cooking with me live talking. Hey, when I do the cooking show, I'm going to be just doing recordings, edit it together into a movie file, and put that directly up on YouTube. But there is a way that I could do that using that scene function because it's like OBS. You just set it up so I could be in the corner of the cooking video explaining stuff and then be out on the patio actually doing the cooking. And I thought about that earlier today and I go, oh, fixing to start the fire in the cast iron stove. And I turn around to the camera and go, hold my beer and watch this. Oh, try and get the coal and the wood to burn. I found the absolute hardest to use barbecue grill butane lighter. You know, the long snouted ones?
Yeah. Why is it
I
hard to
got,
use?
because the safety that keeps any kids from being able to actually use it requires so much extra strength to turn off so that when you click the trigger, it actually produces a flame.
Hmm.
But now that I know that brand, I won't be buying those anymore.
Costco had a 5-pack,
Mm.
and 3 of them were the stick lighters for lighting grills and candles, stuff like that, and then 2 of them were the flexible ones.
Oh yeah, yeah. Now, I do have 2 of these handy little gadgets, which you may recognize. Ferro rods.
Huh.
Take the back of your knife or a piece of steel,
Yeah.
and scrape one side, and sparks fly off everywhere like a sparkler.
I told you I was going through boxes of my dad's stuff,
Yeah.
and he had this neat little butane lighter. I've been trying to get it to work.
I've had a dozen of those things, and I've never been able to refill them successfully.
That's
When
what the
the
problem I'm having.
Yeah, when the original charge of butane runs out, they're paperweights. I can't. I've tried. I have tried over and over again, but I just can't get them to refill the gas canister at all. I've got a couple that the striker is piezoelectric,
Yeah, that's what
so,
this is.
so you never have to have a flint to put in it. Well, I can see it flickering, but I can't see any flame coming out. Yeah, I can see the spark.
It's got a small Phillips head screw in the bottom that I don't know if that's has anything to do with refilling it, or if that is just what holds the whole lighter together. So
You'd think that those instructions would be on the can of refilling fuel.
hey, this thing's getting cold.
It gets cold really quick, whether it's putting any in or not. Like I said, I've got several of them that I bought over the years. Ooh, actual flame!
We didn't start the fire. Wait, we did. Okay.
Free bird! Well, sorry, but it's about that time.
Is it already?
I didn't mean to click that twice.
Do it
again! And Dawn's rolling over in bed in her hotel room reaching for her tie-dyed glove. You probably used up all the butane that you just put in it.
You might be right.
Yep. Oh, okay. We got another comment here.
We do.
Yeah.
Anybody we know?
Not off the top of my head. No. Impactor Productions. Hello. You just got here in time for us to end the show. I'm sorry.
See, I'm thinking I'm over adjusting the damn thing.
I couldn't tell you. Like I said, I've never been able to successfully refuel any of the ones I bought. I've got some really fancy ones that look nice,
That's
but
what this is. Whoop. It is.
there you go. It's putting a little bit in there.
Very little.
Yes, that's the problem. But, let's see. Well, I don't know exactly how to wind this up now that you've been busy flicking your Bic for a while. Well, thank you for being here tonight, John. Otherwise, it'd have been another monologue, and I get real tired of doing that. Hopefully, during the summer, we get more people that can pop in and resume the normal operations of Stupid O'Clock and Last Man Standing. Joe Dog can get well from whatever it is he's got.
I doubt it.
And I can get outside and do some cooking videos and post them on the channel and maybe figure out some of the intricacies of doing a live broadcast with a video of me cooking that was pre-recorded. We shall see. I don't know. It may be possible. It may not. I don't. And it's all right. We got another year of this before we find out whether or not the prices are going to go up so much that we have to go to a different platform. And oh, okay. Impactor had been here for a little while before he said anything. All right.
Oh.
Or they. Nice being here for the 20 minutes. Have a great day. Yeah, well.
Who was it used to always show up like the last 2 minutes of the show and like, hey guys, bye guys, and
oh, I don't remember. I remember the ones that showed up and tried to monopolize the show for the rest of the night for self-promotion, but he got deleted from the notifications list. So. Nice guy, but really, if there's 10 people in the room, we don't want to listen to you for 2 hours. You've got your own show.
I still get a lot of notifications from him on shows and such. But
well, he does some interesting shows. He really does.
He always does them in times when I'm not going to be there. So.
Yeah, but he's a great interviewer. He does good shows. It's just when he pops on somebody else's show, he's on and he's promoting, and it doesn't give time for other people to have conversations. And speaking of conversations, we're going to have to tell the bedtime story here in about a minute.
But I'm not sleepy.
Neither am I. I'm going to have to go find some YouTube videos I haven't seen before.
I am watching Ben-Hur, 1959, Charlton Heston. I found it on Internet Archives, and I found a good widescreen version, whole thing in 630p, not quite high def, but better than the original.
Mm-hmm.
High quality.
They're also good for being able to find the old movie serials, and they do a good job kind of, I wouldn't say beefing those up or doing a re-recording in a higher definition, but It's certainly better than the television I used to watch them on back in the 60s, and they were made in the 40s. So, yeah, brings back all kinds of memories. But, everybody check out indiecd.org. It's indie, INDIE, CD.org for links to all your favorite creatives that have shown up on below these many channels that we have. You can find my work there. You can find everybody else's work there.
Not mine.
Well, you don't.
My work's in the garage.
You're retired. There's not much call for blowing stuff up these days.
Want to bet? No.
Hey, whatever you freelance doing, probably I don't need to know about for legal reasons. Then I run Aphelion Webzine. It's been online for the last 28 years. I'm the senior editor and publisher. I also do the cover art. I am very ashamed of my I'm sorry, Impactor. No, you cannot join us with self-promotion. This is not self-promotion. This is about people hanging out behind the scenes after a major convention or even a minor convention or a convention of minors. I don't care. And we're just hanging around having conversations. It's basically a chat show. Yeah, get in good with Joe Dog because he owns the channels and you might have a shot, but I don't have the authority to send you the links. I'm sorry. And with that apology, we will tell the bedtime story and basically go find something else to do. Good night.
Night. Night.
Transmission overload.
System will shut down. shut down. System will shut down.